Nigeria's equities market extended losses for the third week in a row as the all-share index declined 1.3% last week. Ayodeji Ebo, acting managing director, Afrinvest Securities, joins me to preview the markets this week. But before we get into this week, let's talk a bit about last week. Well, thanks for coming on the show, first of all.
Thanks for having me.
Talk us through how you think the market performed last week. Not so good in my books.
Well, if you do a more in-depth analysis, you will discover that you have the number of gainers were higher than the previous week, about 22 compared to 13 the previous week. So part of what led to the drag last week was majorly when you looked at Dangote Cement declined, and when you look at its weighting in terms of market cap, significant. So whatever happens also dragged the overall market. Also, Nigerian bureaus too also declined last week. So when you isolate maybe these two stocks, so overall you may not want to say the performance was that.
How significant were the gains, though?
Yes, we saw in some few stocks. When you look at the overall, I'm looking at the number of stocks, not in terms of size, in terms of market cap. Now, we had about 22 stocks gain relative to 13 the previous week, which is an improvement when you want to look at it. In terms of market breadth, which measures it in terms of gainers and losers, improved to 0.7 times compared to 0.4 times the previous week. So in my own view, I feel in terms of overall market performances, it was better than the previous week. But we also saw inflows of Q1 2017 results, which also overall they were positive. So in the likes of Forte Oil, the top line, bottom line also grew. I think Unilever was also impressive. That's when you look at the consumer goods space. For most of them, they've been able to, I think, try to weather the storm in terms of FX challenges that we all saw that impacted on their results in Q1 2016.
Interesting. Now, taking a look at that, just to follow up on what you said about the oil and gas, you see the oil and gas index was a lone gainer last week, up 0.6%, but then banking index down 1.6% as a worst performer last week. What played out in that space? Yes,
we saw some stock. Fidelity Bank was marked down last week. When you look at the dividend yield, about 16%, so it closed down to about 20%. ETI published its full year 2016 results, which was not impressive. Was I think a negative loss of about 52 billion naira. That also dampened investors' confidence, which led to a week-on-week loss of about 13% in that stock. So I think that was part of what shaped the investors' decision last week.
Now, talking about investors' confidence here, let's take a look at this new circular by the CBN. How do you see this? How do you see this new window impacting on the markets this week?
No, I feel it's a positive development because we've seen what the CBN has been doing in the past weeks. They've been trying to identify some major demand. They've looked at the invisible services. Now, for the foreign investors who have had their funds trapped in the last year, now would have some sign of relief because for most of them, the CBN has not attended to them. They've not supplied them dollars, and each day they wait, they lose other alternative opportunity cost for the fund is also significant. So with this window, the CBN will be able to focus in terms of also intervening once in a while in that market, and also if for people that are willing to, for investors that are willing to bring in their fund, rather than go through the unofficial market, they will also prefer to come into that market because what we feel that this will also achieve is to also be able to establish a fair value because it's based on demand and supply if it's not controlled by the CBN like it did in the when the last policy was released.
Yeah, but how far do you think this will go in boosting confidence? Is this enough?
I feel it may boost confidence because that is the major part of the demand that not been met. The pent-up demand is be close to about $5 billion. That's not been met by the CBN, the foreign investors that wants to repatriate their dividend proceeds of their sales shares. So if this is also attended to, we feel it will boost confidence. And what the CBN needs to just sustain the policy, and it's all about confidence, then we'll see increase in the velocity of inflow.
Now let's take a look at our outlook for the week. How do you think the market is going to play out this week?
Yes, we will see some early bird positioning on the back of the new CBN policy. Then when you also want to look at it based on sector to sector, because we expect more Q1 2017 results that will be published this week. So depending on how those results pan out, it will help shape investors' decision for the week.
Now, talking about stocks to look out for, what subsector do you think might stand out as very interesting this week? Please don't talk about the banks. Thank you. Something else besides that. Everybody just goes to the banks. Just tell me something else.
Because it constitutes over 60% of activities.
So let's look at the sector to look out for.
I feel Nigerian Bureau for bargain hunters, it lost last week, and people may, for investors that are short-term traders, they may want to take position even pending when the full year, the Q1 2017 result comes out.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much. I've been talking to Ayodeji Ebo, as the Acting Managing Director, Afrinvest Securities.